all of you. We'll start with the session which has been assigned to me today. Is objectives, formulation, and testing of research hypothesis. There are too many things here actually. Objective, formulation, little bit we have formulation of hypothesis, a little bit we have seen last class. That is yesterday. Now, testing of hypothesis is something which is very, very the lot of information can be discussed under that actually. Testing of hypothesis, testing of research hypothesis. We'll do one thing. We'll discuss whatever possible today's session. And anyway, we have to have one SPSC session tomorrow. So the SPSS, if we are to learn, we have to learn about some statistical techniques. Techniques we need to know, and I assume that you all know that statistics, but then still, practical point of view, I have to brief you about what all the statistical techniques are used in social science research as such exclusively. So tomorrow's class will have a little bit of briefly about the various tests and what are the statistical analysis and in the sense descriptive analysis and inferential analysis. We'll have a brief content tomorrow also. Today, we'll try to understand why we need testing of hypothesis. What is that magical word called as p-value in the research? You can see that in any article, whenever you're reading it, you find one p-value in that particular thing, and then people tend to say that reject hypothesis and accept hypothesis, or it is significant or not significant. These all the words you'll get to see in when you read any article. So let us try to understand what it is. What is that p-value is? So with that, we'll try to understand now. If you understand that, after that, various tests, why we are using just to get p-value and what all the test has to be used, I will make you comfortable with those tests. Okay, if it is not today, tomorrow also we have that opportunity because we have to deal with SPSS. SPSS means statistical analysis, so we need to know that what are the basic statistical analysis. So with that, let us start. So in this session, we'll see that objectives, hypothesis, forms of hypothesis, testing of hypothesis, some technical concepts of testing of hypothesis. Let us see. Okay. So yesterday we saw that methodology, very it is not very detailed, because detail means each step has to be considered in maybe 1 or 2 hours like that. But then because I had to tell you the briefly that because it has been exclusively given to each person, each step. That is the way the workshop or conference has been assigned. It's beautifully, it is given all the component, you are getting it actually through the different sessions. So I started with the steps in scientific research, in that select the topic first and gather the information, that literature review, form objective and hypothesis, and prepare a research design, then conduct a survey and collect the data, then analyze the data using statistical techniques. Then interpret, that means analyzed data has to be interpreted and conclusion has to be drawn. That is the next step. And then last step is preparation of the report, and then we have to publish that. So in that, we have seen that first step, that is selection of the topic or the research problem. How to select, we have seen. Okay, so I told you that basic thing what you can go for selection of the topic is the literature. Read literature and try to get your own topic, a beautiful topic, because wherein the much research is not done. Okay, so that you can think that okay, this is what the research I can carry out, or this is my research, you feel proud about it. Select the topic, or literature review, and also selected topic is all right or not, somebody has to give a light on that. So you can contact the people, those who are expert in that field, or your guide, you can discuss with the guide and experts and colleagues. things like that. Or maybe you visit the area. Suppose you are talking about problems of study of problems of the small vendors. So see, we house or going to the college, we teachers may not understand problems those vendors will be having, but you go and have a discussion with them, then you can think of like fixing, selecting the topic, like whether it is right or all right, whether data you get or not. See, for any research, data is must. Who has to give the data? All those things you have to think, and you have to select the topic. After selecting the topic, the next step will come, like now. Okay. Next step is about extensive literature survey on the selected topic. Before you do literature survey, just like that, to fix the topic. Okay, if you are selected one area, with that area, which problem you can take a help of literature, and then you can fix the topic by then. Okay, after selecting the topic, next you have to do extensive literature survey. Why I am calling it as extensive? Because almost all the studies being done under that area you need to have. Okay, in the sense, it is not that you need to have like just like that in the folder what we make in the computer, we download and keep. No, not like that. We have to read and we have to make a point of it, that okay, this study is done this, and on this it is done, these are the objectives, and you can prepare one Excel sheet. Actually, in the Excel sheet, all the studies which you have studied, I mean read, study means which you read, in that author's name, and what is the topic of the study, and what is the whole gist of that study, summary of the study, and then which year it is published. All those information you can make on Excel sheet and keep for yourself, because it is very useful at the end of the day. Because sometimes we read some literature, but then if at all you want to search it is again if you want to search, you will not get it only. Okay, you forget either where, from which author, and things like that. So this practice is very good, wherein you read some articles and make a point of read, you have read, make like in the Excel form, you keep the record of it, in the sense authors and which year it is published, which is a publication, and then what's the summary of the study. And that is a good practice item. Okay, so at all you want to know, you can go back to the Excel and then see that which study is talking about which one, and then you can search for the study in online again. Okay, so this extensive literature survey after selecting the topic is very important. For what reason? I told you clearly last class, in the last session, that it is very important for identifying the research gap. Okay, now what is the meaning of gap? Gap means, that distance for what? Distance for the knowledge. See, some things are there, but some things are not there. You get reflected with the like going through the literature, and oh, this is not done and this is done, so I need to focus on all these aspects. So try to get the research gap, and then that research gap will help you to formulate the formulate what? Formulate your objectives. All right. So research gap you are finding out by finding out what, where, who, how. Okay, these components will end up, because last session I showed you, because of the literature survey, I could finalize my conceptual model like this. Okay, antecedents, because my study is antecedents and consequences of work-life balance. For that, antecedents, work-life balance, and consequences I could find out. Okay, so research gap will help me to find out the objective. So how to formulate an objective now? That through the finding out where the research gap is there. See, I'm not telling that see, research gap, not necessarily that you have to have one new objective, not like that. See, some studies done on one sector of people. Okay, some studies done on teachers, or the college teachers in Maharashtra. Okay, same study we can take it, because If at all it is not done in Karnataka, then you can take it that, we can take it that, because that is a gap in the knowledge. Maharashtra, that study is done, but why it is not done in Karnataka? What is happening in Karnataka? Need to know. So that is a gap I am talking about. You can take the same study or same objective also, but setting can be different. Okay, but little bit variation in the title we need to give. Okay, objectives like that. So we can have our own objectives by reading the, I mean, various articles, and also we can have a discussion with the experts what type of, because people those who are experts in that area definitely will give a like tell you that okay, you can include these objectives also if it is feasible for you. Okay, then you can include them also. It is not necessary that everyone gives a suggestion and you include in your study. It is not possible. It is not possible because it need to because any objective, it should be measurable. I say that it is measurable. I will tell you that later. It should be measurable. Objectives giving, it should be measurable. What is the meaning of measurable? We need to get the data for that. Data should be there. We should be able to questions in our questionnaire, and we need to get the data, some response we need. Through that, we have to say that this is for the result, right? So the objective is which doesn't give you any data, then it is no use. Without data, we cannot prove anything in the quantitative research, okay, empirical research. So objectives and hypotheses we can draw or derive after reading lot of literature. All right. So this is a basic, and then discuss with the experts, okay, or the guide. Okay, then you finalize your objectives. All right. Here in my case, that I have found that is 3 objectives for my study, like that. Understood? So selecting the topic, then literature review we do. Okay, review of literature, then we finalize our objective. Okay, so how to formulate objectives? This, okay, through objectives we can, after selecting objectives only, we can think of going for hypothesis. Hypothesis will happen after the objectives. All right. Suppose you want to keep certain hypothesis, but objectives are not there in that. No, you add one objective for that. No problem. Okay. So objective should be there and hypothesis should be there. See here, everything is interlinked. Hypothesis is created because of there are objectives. Objectives are given because it is from the topic. Okay. So the dear friends, here some places I found like little bit like weird experience. What I found is the people will select the topic, okay, and they'll have a multiple objectives, 10 to 12 objectives they keep, but in that none of them will reflect the title of the study. Okay, because if it has been asked, they say that okay, I have taken it from a little, just like that I have taken some literature object. People tell that you take it from object, I mean literature, so I have taken it from literature. Okay, it is, see, that's what it has to coordinate with your objectives. So your object, I mean it should coordinate with the title. Okay, your objectives are focusing on your title, then what is the use of studying? At the end, people say that you collected the data, did this, but where is your topic is addressed? Topic of your study is not been addressed with your, okay. So if there is no link between your topic and the objectives, that is like no, it is giving you the reflection that you don't know anything. You are not putting your effort to find out the like no objectives, or you are not focused on your research. Okay, so title, and then title, what all concepts are there, it should be reflected in the objectives. But in objectives, you can add a little more, like no few more objectives, no problem. It is not exactly reflected in the title, no problem. From the same people, you might collect so many things, no problem. But the title, what is reflecting, it has to come in the objective. Okay, so I'm telling you again and again, there should be a coordination between title of the study and objectives. Objectives should speak about your title, and then sometimes what happens, people like you have so many objectives. I'll ask, then where is your topic of this topic what you have taken? Okay, it is not reflected in your objective. Then they'll show that one objective is there. There they'll show. Okay, but one objective is not enough. Try to make one minimum three objectives for reflecting your title. All right. After the objective, only we can think of hypothesis. All right. Now let us take up one example. See, my study is SEM approach to explore work-life and association with the work-related factors and with the job satisfaction and intention. Okay, there are so many things that is there in the title itself, and it is a study among nurses working in my specialty hospital. If at all it is a thesis, we can just tell that work-life balance and its relation with the work-related factors and then the outcome, behavioral outcome of the employees. We can tell that, but here the title, saying I usually attend certain workshops where medical fraternity conducts. Those people, they say that if at all you are publishing a paper, the title should give the entire thing of your study, in the sense what all variables you are taking up in your study, it should be reflected in the title, they say. Okay, but it is not in management studies, it is not possible to bring out entire thing in the title. Actually, it is not possible, but in medical field it is possible, because they might be talking about the hypertension among the cases and controls, or the adverse effect of the particular drug among the hypertensive patients. Correct. No, it is easy for in that medical field to give the detailed concepts in the title. Because when you read the title, I should understand that what all the variables you are taking up, or what are the variables you are considering. That is what the intention of giving this one, they say. Okay, but in our management studies, I think it's not very possible. We can just say that work-life balance and its relation with the work-related aspects, like that. Okay, so this is what the study I've done, and it has been published, but not very good journal like that. But then it is so here, what are the objectives I've taken? To measure work to family conflict and family to work conflict. Together, it is called as work-life balance. This is the one objective. Second objective is to identify work-related factors to work to family conflict. Work to family conflict. Okay. To identify work-related factors. Next, to identify the relationship of WFC, that is work family conflict, with the job satisfaction and the intention to leave the job. Okay. Do you think it has been deviated from the topic? Whether it is deviated? No, it isn't it. If at all it is deviated, you can ask me later also. Okay. So it is focusing on the objective directly. Okay, I can give some other things. There are how demographic variables are related to the work-family conflict. That aspect also I can add, but that is additional. Okay, these three are directly focusing on my topic. All right. Now let me take some other study also. Stress among IT professionals, a study in Karnataka. Okay. So look at their objectives. The first objective is to study the demographic variables of IT professionals. Usually all the studies should have the demographic variables. And next objective is to measure stress and the cause of stress. That includes working conditions. They're giving clearly here working condition and work-life balance at workplace among IT professionals. Next is with the job satisfaction and relationship with the job stress. See how clearly it is given to measure the impact of job stress on psychological, behavioral, and physical outcomes. Next is to evaluate the coping strategies to manage stress among IT professionals. Okay, the title is what? It's very general. Stress among IT professionals, right? Okay, there is nothing is given like unlike the first topic and the objectives. Here, nothing is given, but it is made very clear in the objectives. The objective give the clear clarity about what a person is doing. What I am doing, it is being clearly focused. It should be like that, dear friends. So you have to concentrate here. We have to go that the topic and the title should be like, should coordinate each other. Okay, it should not deviate from the title. Should not deviate. You can, but then title aspect should be there in your objectives. All right. So now stress among this objective you saw. Now let us see how to generate hypothesis for this. Okay. Now let me write the hypothesis for this. See, hypothesis of the study. The first hypothesis in this study, there is a significant relation between the demographic variables and stress. See how beautifully it is given. There is a significant relation between the demographic variables and stress. There is a second one. First one is that. Second one, there is a significant relationship between working condition and stress. Okay. Next, there is a significant relation between work-life balance and stress. Next, there is a significant relation between stress and job satisfaction. Next, there is a significant relation between stress and various health aspects of IT professionals. Next, coping strategies have mediating effect between stress, job, and health outcomes. So, see the way objective is given and the way hypothesis is given, there is a difference. Okay, why that difference? What is that hypothesis is special about? Okay, in hypothesis, dear friends, you have seen here, it is linking two concepts, two or more concepts. You understood? It is trying to link between two or more concepts, or it is trying to compare between two or more groups. Okay, so when it comes a comparison between the groups or between the categories or between the sectors, or when you want to relate something, then we can put it under hypothesis. Okay? Hypothesis is a statement for relationship, and it is a statement for difference between the groups. Okay, or it is a statement of association. Okay, instead of relationship you can use a term impact. Okay, you can use a term correlation. All right, so like, that's what the hypothesis. Now the question is why I need to have a hypothesis in my study. Okay, so in objectives is a statement. You see the objectives, they are just statements. If at all I want to relate first statement or first objective to the second objective, I call it as hypothesis. Okay, in the hypothesis, okay, I am bringing out something very precious from my study. Okay, why I am reflecting only so many here. What happened here in the every objective they are having a hypothesis. That is what I am also telling you. Every objectives are you frame such a way that you should get a hypothesis out. Okay, so that it is beautiful. Okay, if you do that, it is beautiful. Every chapter you have, I mean every section, every objective you have a hypothesis. All right, so hypothesis, listen to me carefully. Hypothesis is not just a statement, it is a statement of relating to concept or more concept. It is a statement relating or comparing between two groups or more groups, or it is a statement of a relation or the association or the impact. That is that simple hypothesis means. Okay, so hypothesis is being generated from objective. Sometimes I have a difference with this also with the people. People come with the objectives, they come with the title, and they come with the hypothesis. The hypothesis is something which is not at all related to the objective. It will not be related to the title also. What to do that? All right. Then I will be telling that, okay, hypothesis, we keep it aside because hypothesis can be like, that, like, brought it out later also, but then it is not a right practice of bringing out a hypothesis later, because we say that hypothesis is the one that where you want to focus exactly, like, this is my strength of the study. So it should become a strength of your study. Okay, this is what the major hypothesis, the relationship I am proving in my study. Because there is a relationship, there is a problem. All right. So this is what we want to tell. These all things should come in your perfect research design, what we are talking about yesterday. Okay. Research design should contain all these things perfectly. Okay. But then sometimes people will have a problem with the hypothesis. That's what hypothesis should reflect, like, basically from your research gap only. This is what something new I am bringing out from my study. You should be able to tell. Okay, that's what hypothesis. That is a like, level of hypothesis actually in any research. Okay, so dear friends, don't ignore this. Okay, if at all you don't know how to do it, you have to study that. You have to go through the, like, studies, various studies, try to make it. It is not that it is difficult. So you have to put some like, mind in that, and then you have to form that those this one. Suppose if you come to me with these things, I will not be able to tell you how you have to form the hypothesis at all, dear friends. I'll tell you openly now. Okay, before looking at the data, I will not be able to tell you this, that okay, you keep this hypothesis. Yes, with this stress level and the things like that, it is okay. But suppose some studies you are talking about evaluation of certain concepts, like, different concepts related to customer study and related to stress level and all. It is possible because the studies are revolving around some stress and things like that. Okay, development and things like that, employee development, that only it is it's possible. Something it is like, very descriptive, and then you want to do a, like, the frame like hypothesis for that, it might be difficult for anybody, because without looking at the data, I'm telling, if without looking at the data and without looking at your questionnaire, it is not possible, because I have not done any literature review of your study. If I have done your literature review of your study, I can able to get. That's what I'm telling. It's not only me. Nobody else can give you. I'm telling you. Okay, you only have to frame your hypothesis. Okay, otherwise you have to fix it at the end. That's all. That's like, if there is no way, and then you have to fix it at the end of the study. End of the study means after collecting the data, because anyway you have to collect the data regarding these objectives. Okay, we have we are going to look into that, how the like, the questionnaire has to be framed in the next session. So it should focus on your objectives, and there you need not to focus on hypothesis, because you have to focus on objectives. So what is there in the objectives, from there only that you have to derive the hypothesis. Hope I am making it very clear. You need to understand that. Okay. Now, suppose if I take the same study of that SEM approach, or the SEM means structural equation modeling approach, to explore work-life balance and association with the work-related factors and with job satisfaction and turnover intention. If at all this study, if I have taken up, these are my objective. Now, can you frame the objectives? I mean, hypothesis for this? Hypothesis are, oh, it is coming down. 1 minute, I'll just because this PPT is from some other laptop. Yeah. Okay. So, friends, here, objectives we have. Okay. Now, hypothesis. There is a One first hypothesis can be there is a significant relationship between work-related factors and work-to-family conflict. Second hypothesis is there is a significant relationship between work-family conflict and job satisfaction. Okay, there or otherwise there is a impact. Work-life balance, work-family conflict has an impact on job satisfaction. I can write it like that also. There is a significant impact of WFC on job satisfaction and intention to leave. Okay, the first one is what? There is an impact of work related factors on WFC. Okay, work family conflict. Okay, so I am taking it work family conflict, not family to work conflict here. So my hypothesis is very clearly stated on work family conflict because there are various studies being shown that family work conflict is not showing much relation with the work related aspects, okay, job satisfaction or intention to leave. Only that the work family conflict is having a relation with the all these aspects. So whichever studies I have been gone through it, that's why hypothesis is specifically given like this. Okay, hope it is clear. If you have any doubts, please let me know later. Okay, now, one more example, let me take customers' perception towards banking products or services of public and private sector banks in Mumbai. This is a study in Mumbai. Okay. See their objectives to study the satisfaction of customers in public and private banks, to study the different problems and operational risks in banking products and services, to make a comparative analysis of customers' perception with the reference to banking products and services only. Okay, don't you think it is clear? It is clear, isn't it? What the title given is clearly reflected in objectives. All right, you want hypothesis for this? What all hypothesis you can do? What type of hypothesis you can frame here? Whether anybody want to answer here? What can be the hypothesis here? You can raise your hand. Yes. So somebody you can unmute. Vijaya Basaru, I think. Basavaraj, Vijaya Basavaraj.
Okay, madam, now let me unmute for the time being if you ask any questions.
Okay.
Okay, I have unmuted. If they want to ask any questions, they can
Yeah.
ask.
So the slide, where the slide can be seen, sir? It's
No,
not.
No, madam. No, madam.
slide is not visible.
Okay.
Now it is seen, madam. It is visible. Yeah.
So what hypothesis we can? Oh, it is shown actually. Okay.
Now it is in
Hypothesis.
proper form.
Huh? Yes. Anybody want to answer this?
There is an answer, madam, given in the chat box. You can read that.
Okay.
Significant relationship between private and public bank.
Oh, okay. Yeah, significant relationship between private and public banks. Okay. Now, I want to make a clarity here. When you're talking about relationships, that is two components we are relating. If you want to compare between the private and public, we don't talk, we will not tell that relationship. There is no relation between public and private sector, isn't it? It is a comparison. There is no significant difference. When you talk about public and private sector, we say that there is no significant difference. Okay, when you are talking about job satisfaction and their health condition and their intention to leave, then we talk about relationship. Okay, is that clear? When you are comparing across the groups, we call it as a difference. There is no significant difference. And when we are talking about relating something of our job satisfaction or the stress, then we say that relationship. Okay, so these things you should be very clear about it. All right, hope it is clear. That's why I was that's the reason why this particular uh, problem I have taken, because it is private sector and public sector. So we are talking about there is a significant difference in risk involvement between public and private banks. There is a significant difference in customers' perception with reference to banking products and services between public and private sector. Okay, similarly you can have that. So here main motto is there is significant difference. Okay, public and private sector. Now whether you can have some association concept also here, of course we can have. Okay, there is an impact of perception of the there is a relation between perception of the customers and also satisfaction. You understood? Perception regarding the regarding the services and their satisfaction of the service. I feel satisfied because I have a good perception. I feel satisfied whether I have I don't feel satisfied because I have a poor perception. You are understanding, right? So that is the relationship. There is a here in this particular study, you can find relation also, you can find difference also. Difference between the banks and relationship between the satisfaction and the perception. Okay, hope it is clear.
Madam, 1 second.
Okay, you can unmute.
Vijay Basavaraju has forwarded one hypothesis, madam.
Yeah, okay.
In the chat box. Is it okay? Just see.
Yeah, significant relation between customer satisfaction and banking products. It's very good. This is a right hypothesis actually. Okay. Something asked, can it be relationship? Because maybe they she asked for the previous one. Maybe I don't know. Yeah. So now I think it can be. It is clear. I feel okay. I'll continue.
Okay.
My PPT is seen, no, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is what. So hypothesis format is like that. Objectives will come in the form of statements, and hypothesis format will come in terms of like there is a relationship, there is no relationship, or there is a significant association, there is no significant association, and there is difference. Now you can ask me, there is a significant difference only, why you have to tell? Whether I can tell there is no significant difference? You can tell, that is your hypothesis. You can tell anything, no also, yes also, you can tell. But then it is not proved, right? It is a hypothesis. Hypothesis means what? It's an assumption. You can quote it in the null form, or you can quote it in this is called as research hypothesis. Okay, there is a difference or there is no difference. If you tell also, that is, you are free to tell, because that is your own hypothesis. Nobody can question you. Why you are giving that? You should have given like this. No. Okay. You can give it in this form or the other form. No problem at all. Because at the end, it needs to be tested. And with the test, you have to write the result after that only. All right. So this is again one more confusion with the researchers, that we should give it is in there is significant difference, or there is no significant difference. In what form we have. The dear researchers, you can give it in any form. That becomes your research hypothesis. Don't worry at all. All right. This is what I'm telling you. All right. Okay. So now let us little more about the objectives. Why objectives in our study? Okay, because it's a topic is on objectives, so I am talking about that. Objectives focus because of objectives, uh, or the objectives help us to focus the study, narrowing it down to essentials. In the sense what? The objectives are there, then you are clear, like, no, these are my objectives, that's what I am going to talk about. If somebody else asks you why you are taking only these objectives, why you are not taking other objectives, that's my study, man. That's mine. I am doing it. That is what objectives I am using in my study. I am not considering other one because I found research gap with this one, so I am taking it. Other things, it is beyond my research, because there's, for research there is no, like, no boundary, right? So that's why if you ask multiple people, you'll get multiple what is that, solutions. I don't know whether you call it a solution, multiple suggestions you get. Okay, but you have to be choosy to select what suggestion is good for you and for your objectives, to, like, no, frame and keep yourself. Okay, so once you are clear about your objectives, it will focus the study, in the sense it helps greatly for like, no, prepare the questionnaire. All right. Develop a methodology. To develop a methodology, last class also I was using methodology part only, which comes after selecting the objectives, right? Develop the methodology. These objectives helps us, like, no, it will give the direction how to carry out the whole thesis or whole study. Okay. Avoid collecting unnecessary data. Organize the study itself. What's the meaning of that? This, you have beautifully given so many objectives. Don't you think each one will become one section? Objective 1 is one section in your thesis. Objective 2 will become another section of in your thesis. Objective 3 will become another section in your thesis. Done. Everything is organized, right? So that is the use of the framing of objectives scientifically, with the taking utmost care. Okay, not like, no, oh, I have to do something now, I'll give some objectives, but I will change later. This and all, you don't keep it in your mind. Please, you concentrate on whole on objectives and try to frame appropriate objectives. Okay. How should the research objective be stated? Okay, it should be concise. What's the meaning of that? Short and to the point. Realistic. Okay, it should be realistic. What is the meaning of realistic? Realistic means there should be a data for that, dear friends. You should be able to collect the data for that. Some objectives you are given, if you say that I don't get data for that, then what is the point in keeping that objective in your study? Okay, so make sure that you get the data and to keep that objectives in your study. Then it should be measurable. That's what you should get. So the data for that, and then it should be measurable. Analysis should be done, and then interpretation has to be given for that, and then it should be clearly phrased. So there should not be any confusion. It should be clearly phrased and clearly focused what you are doing, and wide in scope. That means it should cover all the parts of the study in a logical sequence. All the cover all parts of the study means what? What is your study here? Topic of the study. It should cover all your topic, whatever you have taken. It should cover in a logical sequence. This is how the research objective should be. Okay. Now let us come to hypothesis. A hypothesis states what we are looking for. Okay, I told you something important point you want to bring it out, and something you have to highlight in your study in the form of, like, hypothesis, and it to be proven or disproven. Anything, reject or accept, anything is fine. So research is that. The positive also you have to report, and negative also we have to report, right? A hypothesis states what we are looking for. A hypothesis looks forward. We are having hypothesis, no? Now we are just seeing there is a relation between this and that. So that's my hypothesis, not yet proved, right? Then after the data only we are proving, yes, there is a relation, then we are saying, right? So hypothesis looks forward. It is a proposition which can be put to test to determine its validity, okay? It may prove to be correct or incorrect. Okay, so hypothesis reflects the research worker's guess as to the probable outcome of the experience, means a study, the project or the thesis carrying out. So, a hypothesis is a conjectural statement of the relation between two or more variables. Okay, so now we have come to objectives, and then I told you we need to have to hypothesis. These hypotheses can be of relationship between two components or many components, or it can be association between the two attributes. Attributes means what? Okay, whether rural and urban is associated, the satisfaction of the person or the customer, whether there is any association with the rural and urban, so where they live. Okay, that's association. Attributes are two here, and a difference or no difference between the two or more. See, your hypothesis will revolve on around only three of these components. One is relationship or impact. It is one and the same, dear friends. Relationship. Sometimes you tell that there is a significant positive relation and all. Positive, negative and all, you don't mention it now because we don't know whether what is going to happen. Because if it is not positive, you have to reject that hypothesis. Then if there is a positive relation. So that's why relationship can be positive or negative, yes. But in the hypothesis, you don't mention that it is positive or negative. Just mention there is a relation. At the end, what it comes out, then you can specifically give that, okay, there is a significant positive relation after testing. All right. So your hypothesis will revolve around relationship, association, and then difference. Okay, friends. So this is how the hypothesis has to be. Okay. So
Madam,
our objectives
madam,
and hypothesis. Yeah.
Razina has placed one comment. Significant word cannot be used in hypotheses. Just
Cannot.
or it is not clear. You just go through that.
Okay.
In the chat box.
Why significant word cannot use in hypothesis? But I have used Razina. It has to be used. There is a significant difference. There is a significant relation. All my hypothesis contains that. All right, because significant word should come because we are talking about significant relation is because any component you take in this world, one or other relationship will be there. Okay, so we have to talk about significant relation. Correct, no? Relationship will be there, but a significant relationship between the two components will be there, will be there or not, we have to find out. See, tests of statistical tests will talk about significant impact or significant relation. All right, so that word is used. Okay, hope it is clear.
I think it is clear.
Yeah. So here, so objectives from objectives hypothesis, okay, focus as a main outcome of the research activity. So we form the hypothesis, and these hypotheses are some statements. It will revolve under there is significant relation or association or difference. Okay, so these are all whatever you hypothesis you give in your research, they're called as research hypothesis. All right, they're called as research hypothesis. You don't worry whether null hypothesis or alternative hypothesis. See, null or alternative while testing, it is required. That's all. Statistically, we give that concept of null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. When you are talking about in research activity, you call it as research hypothesis. Okay. For us, for statisticians, whether I look at the hypothesis, this is in null form, this is in alternative form. That's it. Okay, don't worry about should I give in null form or should I give in alternative form. So anyway, see, if I say that significant relationship is not there, that is my hypothesis. I don't want to see the relationship. Understood? No, you have a what is it, liberty to take a hypothesis in any way. Okay, in any relationship, there is or there is no. Okay. So relationships between two components or many, association between the two attributes, okay? So these are all called as research hypothesis. But if at all I put it in this form, that is, there is no significant relationship between two components or many, and that is called as null hypothesis. And then if at all I put it as there is significant relationship between two components or the many, that is H1. This is called as statistical form of hypothesis writing. Okay, because why statistical form is like this? It has to be like this because our hypothesis we have to prove using statistical methods, right? Statistical methods are defined on null hypothesis, dear friends. What is null? Null means nil, none, no relation, correct? No difference. When it is talking about no difference and no relation, proving that it is, disproving is easier, understood? Otherwise, if you give any hypothesis and statistical hypothesis, statistics might have to many formulas. Okay, now whatever your one hypothesis, whatever you give in your research, it is enough you use one test for that, it is enough. Otherwise, different kind of hypothesis. See, that's what I'm telling. If you prove or disprove null hypothesis, your research hypothesis also will be taken care of. How? If I say that reject null hypothesis here, then what is the meaning of that? There is significant association. If I say that accept null hypothesis, what is the meaning of that? There is no significant relationship. Now, what about your research hypothesis? Research hypothesis, you are saying that there is significant relationship, but my statistical analysis gives what? Reject null hypothesis. Then what I'm doing? My research hypothesis is accepted, correct? No? Suppose if I say that research hypothesis is difference, but my statistically I got that accept H naught. Okay, what's the meaning of that? There is no difference is accepted. So your research hypothesis rejected, right? So it is interlinked. You can reject or accept your research hypothesis based on statistical outcome. So anyway you give, it is not a problem, but you need to be having a clear concept regarding that null hypothesis. In statistically we prove, accept or reject the null hypothesis in our statistical terminology because our tests are defined on null hypothesis. You talk about t-test or ANOVA or any test you are talking about, it is defined on the null hypothesis, assuming that there is no relation. It is easy to put, okay? So that is a statistical form, all right? So statistical hypothesis, there are two types, null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Now, for example, is investment patterns significantly vary between rural and urban population? So this is what the question, research question. So what is the research hypothesis here? There is a significant difference between rural and urban with respect to investment pattern. Okay. So what is null hypothesis here? Null hypothesis says that no significant difference. What is alternative hypothesis? There is significant difference. Most of the time, our alternative hypothesis is a research hypothesis. Isn't it so? Dear friends, our alternative hypothesis, suppose if you give it in a positive way, in the sense there is a relation, there is no relation, that becomes a alternative hypothesis. An alternative hypothesis is a research hypothesis usually, all right? But statistically, we say that accept null hypothesis or reject null hypothesis. If it is null hypothesis is rejected, what we are accepting? Alternative hypothesis, accepting your research hypothesis. Correct, no? So try to understand in this way, then the life will be easier. Okay. So now one more question. Is there any correlation between qualification and investment behavior? What is null hypothesis here? No significant correlation between qualification and investment behavior. H1 is there is significant correlation between qualification and investment behavior. Okay, it is null and alternative. Okay. Now, okay, these are the research questions. Don't want now I have two things here. Urban population is more satisfied compared to rural population. This is a hypothesis. Okay, there is a significant difference between urban population and rural population with respect to what satisfaction. Okay, and another one is utilization is more in an urban area compared to rural area. In other words, we can put it that there is a significant difference between urban and the rural area with respect to utilization of certain services. Okay, these two are hypotheses, and I have a data here. Level of satisfaction, rural and urban. Okay, so this is a complete presentation of the data, dear friends. If at all it comes like this, yeah, done. Your entire thing is very clearly given here. Okay, you can see the mean values also here. Okay, level of satisfaction is measured on 5-point rating scale. Yeah, 2.4, 2.7, and 2.55. Okay, and then utilization also, there is a table here. Rural, the score of utilization is 30.3, and score for urban is 27.5. Okay. Now, if you look at mean value 2.4 for rural, 2.7 for urban. Okay. It is found little more in urban compared to rural, correct, no? Okay. See, that's what. Here, if you see, urban will have higher value compared to rural. Correct, no? Mean value you see. And here, rural utilization is more compared to urban utilization, mean value, compare the mean value. Now I am asking you, can we conclude that there is a difference based on this information? Can we draw conclusion based on the data what we have? Because mean is clearly showing 2.7 in urban and 2.5 in rural. So I can tell no that rural are more satisfied compared to urban is more satisfied compared to rural. Okay, and in the below also utilization score is more for rural and compared to urban. So rural utilization is more compared to urban. Can we say that based on the data? Okay, so what I'm telling you that the study is conducted on the sample. Okay, as it is, you cannot draw the conclusion, you cannot test the hypothesis, or you cannot say that. Okay, there is a difference, there is significant difference between rural and urban as it is. Okay, we need to test. Okay, we need to test the what data we got, what information we got, it need to be tested. Okay, so we need to use testing of hypothesis techniques. Okay, why we need to use again this question? See, it is very rare that researchers gather information from an entire population. And yesterday I was talking about you define population and then you have to derive the sample size based on the sample size formula. So our research, we never include whole population. It is not possible for the researcher. And if my studies on medical doctors, it's not possible to collect data from 4,000 and 5,000 doctors. Okay, so I go for a sample. My study is based on the sample. Okay, when my study is based on the sample, when I have to generalize to the population, I have to test that thing to the population, then we have to be careful. In what way we have to be careful? There may be error. Okay, so population, and we are taking one small group, data will be collected for this small group, not for this. But interpretation will be drawn, sample will be drawn from the population, but interpretation will be drawn back to the population. So we need to test. Okay, test for what? We say that there may be error. Because of this error of the sample, we might conclude wrongly. We might wrongly test the hypothesis, or we might wrongly accept the hypothesis, or we might wrongly reject the hypothesis. Usually, I give one example, dear friends, in even in my class or any conference, also I give this particular example. When you go to buy grapes, what we do usually? What's our behavior? Maybe because of corona we may not do it. Usually we taste one or two and then we decide that okay, I should buy or not. All right, now you think it is, you tasted two grapes and then you bought it. After going home, what you see, entire lot is not good, it is sad. It is possible, right? Okay, and you tasted too sweet, and after going home also you got a sweet lot only, or you will be very happy. Oh, it is nice. But you tasted sour, but after going home, what you see? It is sweet. That's also possible. Or you tell, it was not good, but still I bought it. But then it's a good one. We tell, right? Now, tasted sour, but you got also sour. Yeah, I tasted also sour. Yeah, it is like that only, but I still bought it. We tell, all right. But we get furious when tasted sweet, but you got sour lot. After going home, then what we start? We start yelling at the person, and then we say that I will not go to that shop again, and all those things, right? But what is the problem there? Whether you thought who is the problem or what is the problem there? Problem is of your sample, right? Okay, you selected only two sample, you tasted, and you decided that entire lot in that bucket or basket is sweet. Your sample has wrongly interpretation, gave the wrong interpretation for you. Correct, no? Don't you think this aspect is true in research also? Your sample gives one information, but in reality, maybe something else. All right. So that two sample is insufficient. One thing, you should have tasted in every bunch of that, like no, if at all he allowed, right? Every bunch you should have taken one and tasted, and then you decided that you should buy or not. So that, what you say that like representative sample you did not get, but this happens in our research also, friends. Okay, you have whole lot of people, but you collect data from somebody you know, or through somebody and things like that. Okay, don't you think there will be certain error in your sample that need to be addressed, right? Because of that sample, you might get wrong conclusion. What is our motto of research? Derive the knowledge. What's the meaning of knowledge? Truth, reality. Okay, so if at all you don't like no error is there in your sample, you are giving a wrong knowledge to the literature, right? Okay, so dear friends, that aspect need to be, how to handle that aspect, that's the next question. Is it possible? See, I cannot collect data from entire population. I have to go for a sample only. The sample data only I have to interpret for the entire lot. Okay, then you tell me what I have to do. You are saying that it is not correct. Okay, so that's why we need to test that. Testing of hypothesis is why so important, dear friends. Okay, now see, we have research or study or any survey or in the medical field we have a clinical trials. Okay, this trials and all research we do it for we'll have certain hypothesis. Okay, And this hypothesis to prove we need a data, so we take a sample, and this sample we select from the whole lot of population, okay? And we collect the data for the sample only, and then this data we analyze using statistical techniques. Okay, we analyze. You saw the table which I have given, that is analysis, right? But concentrate here. I have to interpret for a population, not to the sample only. Okay, so because of my sample, there may be error in the sample. Maybe, I'm not telling yes, there is error. There may be an error. Because of error, I might wrongly reject the hypothesis. Okay, so it need to be estimated. What need to be estimated? Error need to be estimated. So I need inferential statistical methods. Okay, so this error, what you call, is a p-value, dear friends. Okay, if you have read any journals and articles, if at all p-value you saw, you might have ignored at a time, but you think that what is that p, everywhere it is given and all, you might be telling, okay, but then it has got a lot more significance. Okay, so what is the importance of that p-value? You have to come to medical college and you have to research in medical college, you have to see. Madam, you give me a p-value, that's all they tell me. Okay, so p-value. Okay, so this p-value is nothing but the error. Okay, what type of error? Dear friends, we are again going for an error calculation now. All right, but then here let us have one game here. Not exactly game. You can see two people here, right? Okay, two people here. Now you have to vote in the sense who is famous in Karnataka, whether Deepika or Kajol. All right. I assume that you are all from Karnataka. Now my sample is you people. All right. Now tell me that who, use a chat box. Whom you prefer?
One said Deepika. Two participants said Deepika.
Okay, Deepika.
Yeah, all Deepika.
All Deepika.
Yeah. Any comments?
Okay, let me make this as 60% and this as 40%. So mostly it is Deepika, let me consider, because nowadays Kajal is not to be seen anywhere. Okay. So now when I asked you, see, my sample is who? You people. Okay, how many of you are there? It is my sample. Now 60% got Deepika and then 40% got Kajol. All right. Now what I have to conclude here? Who is famous in Karnataka? What I am concluding now? Can I conclude that Deepika is famous in Karnataka? Can I conclude that Deepika is famous in Karnataka? Friends, please message me or text me in the...
Many said no, madam.
No, why? Can you tell me why? Why it is so, dear friends? Sample not enough. Very good. Then 60%. Only few response you collected, not entire people from Karnataka. Very good. Then because Kajal got 40%, okay, 60% she got, no, not Kajal I'm talking about, Deepika. Because it will not reflect the whole population. Very good. Because data doesn't support, okay. Sample is less, very nice. Sampling is inappropriate, very good. All right. Then sample is not a complete representative of the population. Very good. Testing has to be done. Why? That's what I'm coming to. Testing has to be done. Yes. Why? That is what my question here. See, friends, you are very clear. I am very happy that you are very clear that what survey I have done is not correct. Right? Can I conclude? Means you cannot. Why? You told that sample is not enough. It is not representative of Karnataka, and it is like what is that? 40% still Kajol got. That's only 60%. The difference may not be so much. All right. Sample is not representative is a very good answer if you think, and sample size is very small. Yes, very good. Dear friends, think about yourself. Don't you think in your research also this happens? Whether you collected a representative sample, how you know? Do you think it is correct? Yours is a representative sample in your study. Okay. Do you think it is like entire population is being like the included in the study? Not included. We are going for a sample only. Okay. You are 100% right. What you are talking about, like it is not possible. We cannot conclude. So, dear friends, there is an error because of that. Okay. So, if there is a hypothesis, we need to undergo the inferential statistical analysis. That analysis will tell us clearly reject or accept the hypothesis. Okay. By identifying the error. What error? Because of the sample, sampling error, non-sampling error, whatever errors are there in our sample, we try to estimate through some mathematical models or mathematical concept. We are trying to find out error. Okay. So that error we can find out through tests. What you call about famously, chi-square test is a test where it gives you the p-value, error value. P is nothing but probability of occurrence of error. All right. But then again, this error is what nature, what it does. If you want to understand, let us see this exercise. Process of testing of hypothesis might come across the following situations. I told you that the four situation of testing the grapes, understood? So now let us see that Kajol and Deepika, we'll take that these two personalities only. Okay. Now we'll take that reality. Reality means what? Null hypothesis is true. What is null hypothesis? Both are equally famous. There is no difference. Okay. You think entire population you collect, then there is no difference. Okay. In reality, there is no difference. Both are equally famous. But sample which I got, what it says? The sample, the data which I collected, it says that accept null hypothesis. Now tell me, what is the coordination of reality and my sample? My sample is very good. It is representative, correct? Now why? It is addressing the reality accurately. Okay. Suppose my sample says that reject null hypothesis, like how we got 60% and 40%. That means what is reality actually? No difference. Okay. So it is a wrong decision. My hypothesis I am wrongly rejecting because of the sample. Reality, no difference, but I am saying that one is more famous than the other. That is wrong, no? That's a wrong knowledge I am giving. Suppose you think reality is not, a null hypothesis is not true in the sense, one is more famous than the other in reality. Okay. You are understanding, right? Suppose, let us assume that in the reality, one is more famous than the other. My sample says that accept null hypothesis. What is the meaning of that? It says that there is no difference. All right. There is no difference, my sample says. So again, it is a wrong decision. My sample says that reject null hypothesis, then it is a right decision. See friends here, two times, 50% of the time we are wrong in deriving the knowledge. All right. This needs to be addressed. This is what the error I am talking about. This is the error, it's called as type 1 error and type 2 error. You might be knowing, you know about this, but then again, like, what type 1 error tells? Reject the null hypothesis when it is actually true. What does it say? There is a difference. There is no difference in reality, but you are saying that you are writing the paper saying that there is difference. You are not tested, nothing, but there is difference. That's type 1 error. What is type 2 error? Acceptance of null hypothesis when it is not actually true. What's the meaning of that? You're saying that no difference, but reality there is difference. Okay, customers are, there is a difference between customer satisfaction between two companies or two sectors. Okay, so type 2 error says that accept null hypothesis. There is difference, but you are saying that both are equally satisfied. Okay, so the error p-value, I told error, what I was talking about is these two errors, type 1 error and type 2 error. We might wrongly reject the hypothesis. We might wrongly conclude, all right? So this error has to be estimated, okay? Then both errors simultaneously we cannot estimate, so we talk about the estimating the probability of committing type 1 error because it's a severe error. Probability of committing type 1 error is a severe error, it has been considered, and that is what is equal to p-value, what we are estimating through testing of hypothesis. Dear friends, I think I am giving you the gist of this, why we have to test. We have to test because you are generalizing something. You cannot generalize based on the sample. There may be error. That's what talking about significant difference. Difference will be there, but that difference is significant or not. 60% and 40%, how you know that whether difference is significant? You understood? Whatever here it is happening in the world, the entire thing is interconnected, difference will be there. We are talking about significant difference in the form of calculating the error involved. If the error is involved, what difference you find, the 60% and 40% is not a difference. Okay, so there is no difference, we say. That's what, friends, here. P-value is nothing but probability of committing type 1 error. So that's why our focus is on null hypothesis. Rejecting the null hypothesis when it is actually true is a type 1 error. Okay. Now you tell me, when you're talking about error, suppose if you have to reject null hypothesis, how much error should be there then? If you have to wrongly rejecting null hypothesis is type 1 error. Correct, no? Error is what? Wrongly rejecting. Suppose if you have to rightly reject the null hypothesis, how much error should be? Error should be 0. If error is 0, then you can say, then only you can say that reject null hypothesis. Hope you are understanding. Concentrate here. Try to understand. Your life will be easy with the testing of hypothesis afterwards. This is a thing entirely the people will be having the doubts. Okay. So what is p-value should be? Error should be less or 0 to reject null hypothesis. That's why, dear friends, I told you, anything if you want to reject, okay, null hypothesis is rejected or accepted. That is what our test will tell us. Okay, when it is rejected, if error value is 0. But in reality, in practical situation, error cannot be 0 at all. We are all human beings. Some relaxation should be there, no, friends? Okay.
Madam, there's one comment.
Ah.
Please clarify type 1 error one more time. Nagaraj Pujari.
Okay. See, type 1 error is rejection of null hypothesis when it is actually true. Rejection of null hypothesis when it is actually true. In reality, actually, there is no difference, no relation, no association. But we are concluding that there is association, there is a relation, there is a difference. This is what type 1 error. Okay, so hope Nagraj it is clear for you. So, reject that. To say that there is significant difference or to say that there is a relation, error should be 0. But we are all human beings. It is not possible to keep it at 0. So we have to have really little relaxation. That is what the relaxation, 5%. Okay, what 5% we say level of significance means, you can consider till up to 5% to reject null hypothesis. You understood? You can reject null hypothesis only when your error value is less than 5%, dear friends. Ideally, it should be 0. I told you, ideally, error should be 0, but it is not possible for a human being. If at all like that, none of the hypothesis will be accepted. You understood? So that's why what it has been kept, 5% error can be allowed. 95% no, 5% error can be allowed to reject the null hypothesis. Okay, so that is what p-value. So to say that reject null hypothesis, it should be less than 5%. Okay, if p-value is greater than 5%, then we are going to accept null hypothesis, dear friends. We are accepting null hypothesis. What we are concluding? There is no significant difference. There is no significant association. There is no significant correlation. These are the things what we are talking about. P-value greater than 5%. If p-value less than 5%, then we are saying that there is difference. There is association between work-related factors and then satisfaction or work-life balance. There is relation. After looking at the value of correlation value, then we say that whether it is positive or negative. Okay, just to say that there is and there is no, accept hypothesis, reject hypothesis, we need a p-value where p-value should be less than 5% to reject null hypothesis. I am talking about statistical null hypothesis. Okay, understood? The statistical null hypothesis has to be rejected with p-value less than 5%. Friends, it is a little time constraint is there. So hope this much if it is clear, dear friends. After that, how to calculate this p-value? That's the next question, isn't it? The next question is how to calculate p-value. Okay, there we have parametric and non-parametric tests. Okay, so common tests we use are t-test, and t-test is a parametric test. Corresponding non-parametric test, Mann-Whitney test. And ANOVA, its corresponding non-parametric test is Kruskal-Wallis test. Chi-square test is non-parametric test. Correlation, regression, factor analysis, SEM, structural equation modeling, all these things are commonly used in our social science research, dear friends. Okay, I prefer non-parametric test, Mann-Whitney test instead of t-test. Now the question is, Mann-Whitney test when to use when you have to compare two groups, the government sector and private sector. Okay, when you have to use ANOVA or Kruskal-Wallis test, you have government sector, semi-government, and private sector. You understood? 3 categories. More than 2 categories you are comparing, finding the difference between the 3, finding the difference between the 2 Mann-Whitney test or t-test, finding the difference between more than 2 groups, ANOVA or Kruskal-Wallis test, and you know that chi-square test. I don't know, the chi-square test is like, sometimes when you see in the paper for everything people use chi-square test. No, friends, it is not like that. Don't use, for what and all situation, don't use chi-square test. It is used like, nobody's business. Like that, it has been used, this chi-square test. But then, yeah, I'll tell you how to use also, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow when we are dealing with the SPSS. All right? Chi-square test to find the association between the two and also between the two groups. When the proportions or the frequencies are given, also we use a chi-square test. Chi-square test we use for 3 purposes. Listen to me carefully. 3 purposes. One, to find the association. Another, to find the difference between the groups also. And the third one, to find the difference between the within the group. We say that chi-square test of goodness of it. Okay, these 3 ways we can use, because all the 3 are used in our social science research. One, goodness of it. Next is to compare. But when to use this chi-square test, when to use Mann-Whitney test? When the rating scales you have, then use Mann-Whitney test to compare between the groups. When you cannot use rating scale, when there is no rating scales, then try to use chi-square test when it has to be compared. Next is correlation. when you have a constructs like satisfaction and work related aspect and individual factors and all, when the scores you can find and you want to correlate, then whenever you have a rating scales, you can use correlation analysis. When there are multiple things you need to correlate with the one outcome, then you use a regression analysis, and factor analysis also used. And finally, if you want to test a conceptual model, you can use structural equation modeling. All right. So these are the common tests, friends. And finally, I am giving you, I am giving you these are the tests, but I am not showing you what is that test. I think that we'll see anyway, spaces whenever you are we are doing it. There we'll see, because it's not enough time. It's not enough. Actually, I have slides here. If you look at here, there are slides, but we'll stop here for the next session, I